Hey everyone, Chell here with Prismatic Powders. Today we're going to show you how to get an oil rubbed bronze look, like this. The oil rubbed bronze look is pretty popular in the world of interior decor, but it can also be used in other creative applications. For example, it could work for something like a steampunk or distressed theme on a custom motorcycle or car build. And this is going to be a two-coat process, but it's not difficult. There are a lot of ways that you can approach this to shape your particular look, and we'll go over some of those options. For this example, the colors we're going to use are Hamden Bronze and Black Bronze 2, but you can pick other colors to get the particular look that you're going for. Now let's talk about color choices just for a moment. Ordering some free swatches is highly recommended before ordering your powder, and the reason why is that we have so many flavors of bronze. Some bronzes are very bright and warm, and some are dark and shift slightly towards that darkish green, and you want to make sure that the colors you choose are going to pair well together. I chose mine because they're both warm and matte. When you choose your colors, just know that you're going to need a brighter color for the base, and then you're going to need a darker color, and that's going to be for your top coat. And just a reminder, before you start your project, make sure it's prepped properly. That means it's stripped, degreased, blasted, outgassed if needed. Now our parts have already been prepped, so they're good to go, so we're just going to get into it.
I'm going to start with laying down the Hamden Bronze as the base layer for all the parts. And what I'm going to do is try a few different techniques to get the oil rubbed look, because there are several different ways to approach it that will give you some variety. Once the base coat is on, we need to partially cure the parts and then let them cool before adding the Black Bronze 2. Adding the Black Bronze 2 will allow us to get a bit of a contrast between it and the lighter, brighter, goldish color of Hamden Bronze. I'm going to start with seeing what effects I can get using a simple foam brush. Seems to be giving a nice grain, so we'll see how this turns out. Next, I'd like to try some steel wool, which you need to be careful with to make sure you don't leave any steel fibers behind when you use it. Steel wool is producing some finer grain, but it's irregular and it's kind of hard to control. So in this cup, I'm going to follow up with a bore cleaning brush, and this brush is creating a wide grain, and I'm not sure if I really like it. Next, I'm going to be using a nylon bristle brush that has more tightly packed bristles. I'm going to start by pulling powder from the edges, and then I'll work on the larger surfaces. I want to quickly knock off a larger amount of powder on some areas, so I'm bringing back the foam brush. The combination of these two brushes is working nicely and getting a look that I like. Now it's time to cure the parts, but with a small caveat. I want to try another technique on the gas tank and coat hook. For these, I want the Black Bronze 2 layer to sit in the oven just long enough for it to begin to gel. Then I'm going to carefully sand the top layer. You need to be very deliberate on where you sand so that it looks natural. Edges and places that would logically wear down over time. You also need to be really careful that you don't wear through your base layer, so take your time sanding and check often. Now the reason we waited just long enough for the parts to gel keeps the powder soft and easy to work with, but most importantly, when you put it back into the oven to cure, all those rough sanding marks are going to become smooth as the powder flows out and cures. Now I blow off all the loose powder I created and put the parts back in the oven, and then we're going to check out the results.
All right, the thing that I want to point out with the tank is, even though we're using the same colors, This isn't your traditional oil rubbed bronze look. It's a little distressed. This is for a steampunk theme. And the reason why we just got this tank to right before gel out is that you could sand it, and now everything is very smooth. If I close my eyes, I can't even tell the distressed areas. So, but it looks like it's all scratched down to metal, or in this case, metal and maybe brass. You can see that we embrace some of the dents and just make it look like a beat up tank. It kind of is, but now it looks even more so. All right, and so the same thing, we did it with this clothing hook, and so we're down to that hammed in bronze layer, but it looks like we've worn through layers of coating to get there. And again, very smooth. You can't tell the difference on the layers, but it has a nice worn look. All right, so didn't really like how the cup turned out. I think part of it is just using the tools that we had. It didn't really translate onto something that has constant curvature like this cup does. So looks a little like wood grain, not as much distressing, and you don't see the fine lines with that layer that we did with the steel wool as much as I would like to have seen. So in the end, it's okay, just not a huge fan. So with this one, we've got a little bit different approach than using the other brush, like the brush that we had on the cup, which we used a brush that had far more tight bristles to it, so it was a lot more fine in the grain that it creates. You do notice a little bit of the high-low spots. So there's some texture in it. If that bothers you, like I mentioned before, throw a clear on it and then smooth it out. Some people would probably prefer a smooth look. Some people will prefer this more like rough and rustic look. I kind of like the rustic look. Up here, we've got a little bit of a darker spot. We didn't do as much brushing up here just to kind of create that uneven wear. And I wish there was a little more that got pulled away from the edges. You can't see it too much on camera, but it'd be nice to have a little more pulled away from the edges, but sometimes as you cure it, it starts to fill in the edges a little bit. So yeah, so overall, not a bad look. So on the French press, we did something a little bit different, and it's a little more subtle look. And so you can still see that there's some of that kind of brushed look to it. But then I fogged over it with another layer. So yeah, it's more subtle, but it's there if you're looking. So, and then of course there's coffee in it, so that's good. And of course it did, because we fogged over top of it, it did deliver a little bit of texture to it. It's a different look. It's all subjective. Switch plate was good, and that one was very simple, just the brush. So again, a nice flat surface. There's not a lot of way. There's a little bit of edging that you could lean into if you wanted to knock all of these edges off. But overall, getting that brushed look, it looks good on the switch plate. Okay, that's it for today's video. If you have a different technique that you want to share, feel free to share that in the comments below. Until the next one, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.